That massive oil slick now covering some 600 square miles of the Gulf of Mexico, and it could start reaching the United States coast within hours.
We begin this morning with the latest on those devastating California wildfires. The death toll has risen to at least 71 in Northern California's Camp Fire. About 1,000 people are reported missing.
The problem with burning coal as an electricity source is if you continue to burn coal, you're always going to continue to produce a toxic byproduct, which is coal ash.
Now communities are faced with a new and very dangerous threat.
Dense smoke from those fires is smothering parts of the state with what has been described as the dirtiest air in the world.
Hurricane Irma is barreling towards the Caribbean with winds reaching 180 miles per hour. The Category 5 storm has prompted hurricane warnings in Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Florida is under a state of emergency and preparing for dangerous flooding.
All I can say is the universe is in good shape. It's Earth that has all the problems, right?
Yes, it really does seem that the Earth is in trouble. If people look at this problem on a global scale, it seems very impossible to fix. With many of these problems happening near and far, a person could quickly become discouraged in trying to help fix these problems because they are so numerous. We hope that a few simple tips and our examples, you will have the courage to take these problems head on. Because every person willing to step up takes humanity one step closer to solving this problem. But there is an issue. What is the problem? Ask any person that is conscious about environmental problems, and you will get a wildly different answer. It's the burning of fossil fuels. It's the clearing of rainforests. Maybe it's the meat industry with their large quantities of animal stock. And in a way, they're all right. But it's also a lot of problems to remember. This comes to our first tip. Think simple. These problems have a main point. The environment is out of equilibrium. If an environment is in equilibrium, it maintains. No one species consumes more than the system can handle. But this changes when humans become part of the equation. Instead of living in the environment, as most animals on Earth do, humans seek to change it, or remove it, or add to it. First, we would change the land by removing trees and other plants so we could build houses. We would then add to it by introducing plants, materials, and even other animals that don't normally exist in that environment, either for our enjoyment or just because we can. This happens all over the world. But let us examine a couple examples in a local setting. Tip number 2. Act local, think global.
This is a plain example of the disrespect to our environment. A whole pan out here in the water.
Littering has been a problem for as long as we've had trash, but recent generations have had a growing disrespect for the environment, and it is evident. Littering has become so normalized that we often don't understand the extent of the problem. According to ScienceDaily.com, trash in oceans, beaches, and waterways kill over 1 million seabirds and 100,000 turtles and other marine animals each year. Those countless animal lives could easily be prevented, but we think nothing will come from leaving a plastic bag on the beach. It is becoming increasingly difficult to keep the trash problem at bay. My freshman year, I went with one of my classes to Creation State Park and went down the river picking up trash, and my partner and I alone collected 2 full trash bags. Since then, a lot of people have started helping out, so it's a lot better now, but what if Creation didn't have students like us to come in and help? They would probably lose a lot of revenue and might even have trouble keeping such a beautiful park open. We need to get a grasp and realize the consequences of our actions. I know how annoying it can be to carry all your trash off the beach with everything else you brought, but remember all those birds and cute little turtles you could be saving by taking your trash with you.
Tip number 3. Think of native species first. When trying to bring equilibrium back into an environment, it is important to think of native species first. Mangroves, palm trees, and many other species of plants and trees are native to Florida. The food forest at FGCU has many native species that prove to have a positive effect on the environment. These species provide many benefits, including preventing soil erosion, purification of water, and homes to many of the native animal species that also live in the Florida environment. Some non-native species have made Florida their home, including the potato airvine and the Brazilian pepper tree. While not too many plants are hardy enough to survive the Florida soil, many of the non-native animal species can survive this environment easily. Tip number 5. Removing non-native invasive species. An invasive species is a species that is not native to that specific location. Invasive species are introduced in a number of ways. Globalization has increased trade and travel distances, allowing plants and animals to tag along and get to different places around the world. Most of these species are introduced by accident, however, some of them are brought here on purpose to solve problems such as pest control. An example of this would be the air potato beetle, which was brought in to help kill off the air potato vine. The complications with invasive species is that once they are introduced to a non-native area where they can thrive, they begin to outcompete native species for food. While various types of plants, animals, bugs, frogs, and fish, along with some birds, have been labeled as invasive species, the Burmese python is considered to be the most invasive of all. Burmese pythons thrive in this Florida environment because they have no natural predators here. It is not uncommon for a captured Burmese python to reach lengths of 10 plus feet long. So as you go about your day today, make sure that you follow these tips that we gave you and look around at your environment and see what you can do in order to restore equilibrium. Humans must change how they interact with the environment if they wish to continue living on this earth in harmony with the other species. And before we leave you today, let us give you one last tip. Don't forget to enjoy nature and go discover something new.